All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get our part started then, and we'll welcome everyone as they join in. So, hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Tracy Irby, and I am the director at TWU, Center for Women Entrepreneurs. We're so happy you are here with us tonight. I'm really excited about this program, and I think it's something that is very timely. So, I'm looking forward to that. So we also have Donalisa Stinyard online. She is our program director. And we have Justina Shaw. She is our small business advisor. So you will see them as well. So those of you who aren't familiar with us, the Center for Women Entrepreneurs was funded in 2015 by the state legislature just to help promote women entrepreneurs anywhere in the state of Texas. And so we do that through small business advising, networking and training events like these, funding, and research into women entrepreneurs. Our center, along with the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy and the Center for Student Leadership, are all part of TWU's Jane Nelson Institute for Women's Leadership. And the Jane Nelson Institute is dedicated to preparing women to take on successful roles in business and public service to ensure women have the education to establish careers as successful C-suite executives, the skills for building entrepreneurial businesses, and the framework needed to run for public office. So I want to get started then with our speaker for this evening. So tonight we have Carrie Breedlove. She is a licensed professional counselor and is EMDR trained. She is the owner of Breedlove Counseling, where she specializes in Christian-based counseling for women across the state of Texas, helping them find joy on their unchosen journey through life transitions and life losses. Carrie has been working in outpatient mental health for over 20 years. She loves networking and is often found doing Facebook Live videos, including makeup tutorials for her side makeup and skincare business, Breedlove and Beauty. Offline, Carrie enjoys spending time with her husband of 15 years and capturing the antics of their two adorable cats, Mia and Joy. So I am happy to introduce her, Carrie Breedlove.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you so much for having me on, and to TWU and the Center for Women Entrepreneurs. This has been an instrumental program in my own entrepreneurial journey, and so I'm so grateful to be a part and be able to just give back and share hopefully some good encouragement for you. This is going to be a very practical and interactive type of presentation. So I hope if you're catching us live on Facebook, or also if you're here on the Zoom, I'd love for you to interact with the things that we're going to be talking about today. And Donalisa, I think you're going to be helping me with sharing the screen for me so I can still have access to my notes over here. And so we're going to talk about improving our emotional wellness as women, as entrepreneurs. And we're going to talk about that in a variety of different ways that are going to be very practical, and some things that you're going to be able to start implementing immediately. Even tonight, you're going to be able to do some of these things. So I'm excited to be able to share these things with you, and also for you to try some of these things out as well, and to circle back to this video and to let us know, how did that go? Did you find these things helpful? So as soon as you're able and you can share that, just let me know, Donalisa, and I'm going to show you a picture of Joy and Mia. We were talking about them. There we go. Okay. So we'll go to the next one. That's our beginning one there. And the next screen after that is a little picture that's going to come up here shortly of a few things about me. I always like to show things in pictures, and so it's always fun to see a little bit of somebody's family, just so you know kind of who's talking to you. So you may have to just scroll down to the next one, or arrow down, or arrow over. I don't know which way it'll go. So it'll go on to the next one, and that's totally fine if it's not all the way big, whatever works there.
So what are you guys seeing?
We're just seeing the main slide screen, the entrepreneur with the flower behind it.
Okay, hold on one second.
Okay. And while you're doing that, I'll tell just a couple other things about myself. I was raised in Carrollton and went to UNT for my undergrad and my graduate school and program there, and graduated from UNT with my master's in rehab counseling, and am now working in private practice out of Lake Dallas, which is just a little bit south of Denton and a little bit north of Dallas proper. So love the online space, as Tracy was talking about earlier, and doing a bunch of different Facebook Lives and sharing information that way. So it probably won't do full screen, I'm thinking, Donna Lisa, because of it being a PDF. I'm thinking that may be why, and that's totally fine. We can just kind of use that and go on to the next one as soon as you get that up. So we're going to be talking about a couple of different areas, and I love getting creative and doing things in creative ways. So we are going to be using the idea of an actual makeover and some different pieces to that. So there you go. There you see my little kitty cats there, Joy and Mia, and a little picture of the outside of the building where I work, as well as the inside where the office where I'm actually in right now. And then you see me kind of with that mask there. That's a little shout out to just the fun things I like to do on the side with makeup and skincare. And I call my face my adult coloring book. So, okay, so we're going to go on to the next one just to give you a little bit of a view of what today is going to look like. And this is our itinerary. So who has ever loved a good makeup and spa day and maybe you've done more than one of these in one day if you really took a full spa day. So let us know in the chat if that's something that you've done, any one of these. Let us know which is the last one that you've done. Most people might go and get haircuts or maybe get your makeup done or get your nails done, things like that. So let us know which one you would choose. If you could pick one to do next, which one would that be? Let us know down there in the chat. And then when it comes to your mental and emotional wellness, there's a variety of different entry points, just like with an actual makeover. You could do the body massage, or you could enter in at doing a facial or a haircut. And the same thing with your mental health. We can do the full thing, or we can just choose one or two. And if you only had one of these done, or maybe two, wouldn't you feel just a little bit better? I think we would all agree. And we would say, yeah, absolutely, we would feel better. So people are chiming in. People are saying they definitely want those manis. They have facials and a mani together. Love that. A massage. Yes, I agree with you. So a lot of different great ways that we can take care of our bodies, and just fun and enjoyable ways. And so we are going to use this traditional makeover as our guide to create our own personalized mental health makeover for you as the entrepreneur. And also just to improve your emotional wellness. Sometimes it is these simple things that are the most powerful, and sometimes those simple things that are the easiest to neglect or overcomplicate. So I really hope that you have a pen and paper, something nearby, or another device where you can type something out perhaps. You're welcome to do that pen and paper wise or digitally. Really the key to this information being helpful is going to be your interaction, your participation, and the things that you write down and think and consider for yourself. So we all tend to know what we need to do. It's just a matter of doing it and putting it into practice, right? And so some of the things that we're going to talk about together today are going to be very familiar. Some might be new or a new take on it that you haven't heard before. So whether this is old or new information, I really want to invite you to engage fully in this and creating your own personalized mental health makeover for the rest of this year. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Before we can really jump into all this, we need to acknowledge that sometimes there's some barriers you might not have expected at the beginning of all this. And we can go back. Yeah, there you go. There's the barrier. You might not have expected to see a brick wall at the beginning of your makeover, but it's really important, I think, that we stop and pause and think about this. When I'm working with clients, we have to talk about what are we going to do to help all the different parts that are going on in our life, and what's going to keep us from those goals? What's something that's a barrier to you in any of these particular areas we're going to talk about? And so for your mental health makeover, there is a mindset barrier that can really shut us down before we've ever gotten started. And there's many different ones of those, but the one I like to camp out on, because it just really just keeps coming up, and I think you'll identify with this too, and let me know if you do, is this all or nothing thinking. I have to do it all exactly this certain way, or I can't even do it at all. You probably recognize and have felt that even in your own entrepreneurial journey, like I've got to have the website exactly this certain way, or I need something created in a certain way before I can ever even begin, or if I don't know how to do it exactly, I'm not going to do it at all. And that really can be something that holds us back. It's that perfectionism, it's that overthinking, that we all experience. And so really want you to press into that and to know that sometimes those brick walls actually end up being tissue paper when we push against them. And we don't want to set up any kind of unreasonable rules for ourselves that just hold us back. Even in this process of mental health, we can do the very same thing. And so let's just agree all together here at the beginning of this makeover that we're going to take that antidote together. And that antidote involves just being open to looking at all the different shades in between, all the different creative ways, using that creativity that you pour into your business into your own mental health. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so here we go. We're going to jump in. And the first thing that we need to do is a little quick assessment on areas of life. And so the next slide is going to show you a wheel. And in that wheel, you're going to see a bunch of different pie shapes. And so all these different pie shapes represent different parts of your life. And so just take a look at those for yourself. And I'm going to be putting in the chat a link to a special PDF document that you can have. And if you are not on the Zoom call, but you're catching this on the live or on the replay, it's breedlovecounseling.com/presentation. breedlovecounseling.com/presentation. And so I'm going to put that in the chat as well so that you can click on that if you're in the Zoom chat with us. And that is going to take you to a very secret, special part of my website that you only get if you have that link. And it is going to give you access to a very special PDF that I've created that has this wheel on it and several other documents that will pair with this presentation so that you can actually print that out, or you can just use it as a reference and write your information down off to the side as we go through. And that's going to help you to assess your wheel first and foremost. So this is the document that you'll see there. So think about that in each of these different areas of life. How satisfied are you? And you can even write down, I put some feeling words in there because of course, as a counselor, I have to talk about feelings and emotions. So think about, how do you feel and what emotion would you associate with each of these different areas of life? You might want to just even write down to the side. You can draw that wheel out for yourself and write down finances. How do I feel about that? My work, my entrepreneurial endeavors right now. How am I feeling about that? Relationships, your spiritual side of your life. How are you thinking and feeling about that? Your emotional side, and just your physical health. The one that says health, you can call that your physical health. And then just doing stuff for fun. How often are you taking time to relax? And we're going to get into that here in a minute, a little bit more depth. Finances and money, what's going on there and how do I feel about it? So the 5 main feeling words are happy, sad, angry, ashamed, and afraid. But as I've talked with people about this over the years, people feel like, well, I don't know if I'm really sad about it, or I don't feel super angry, but maybe some of those other subtle forms of anger are there for you, like feeling betrayed or feeling frustrated or just irritated about something. And so it's important that we just acknowledge what's going on for us in these different areas, and which areas do I feel especially satisfied in and which do I not. And think about, if you were to just shade in, starting from that center point all the way up, if you were to shade in how satisfied you were and kind of filling that pie shape in, how far would it go up? Would it be halfway up because you're just moderately satisfied in that area of life? Maybe it would go all the way to the top because you're feeling especially great about that area. Or maybe it's really close to the center. It's kind of a small little teeny pie shape because you really aren't satisfied in what's going on in life in that area right now for a variety of different reasons. And then once you've just kind of shaded in those areas and think about, what does that wheel actually look like if your wheel had a shape to it based on how far you shaded each one of those up? How bumpy would life look with that kind of a wheel on your car? It might be pretty bumpy. And that's the case for most of us. You're not going to have a perfectly round wheel because there's always going to be something in each area of life that we may struggle in. But what we can do is we can select out one of those areas or 2 of those areas that you're wanting to focus in on and really be intentional about some of the work that you're doing. Okay, and so we're going to move on to the next slide. And the next one is where we're going to start. So we're going to start with the body massage. So for those of you who are looking for massage, this is the one for you. And so let's really stop here and assess your stress, and we can make a plan for relaxation. So what is stress? It is feeling pressure, like you don't have what it takes to do what you're being asked to do. You're feeling overwhelmed, trapped, perhaps out of control. When you feel squeezed, think about what tends to come out of you. Do you notice more sadness coming out of you? Do you notice more anger or frustration, maybe worry and anxiety coming out of you when you feel that squeeze? Just noticing that for yourself can be a really great place to start. And then let's assess. So if you're chatting along with us here, let's put in the question in the chat box there. Where do you carry your stress? Do you tend to feel it in your stomach, in your chest, in your shoulders up here? A lot of us carry it in our shoulders. We're kind of hunched over our computers, or our phones all day. Do you notice it in your arms or your legs, your feet even? Where do you carry your stress? Let's share that together. I think for me, a lot of times I carry my stress in my gut, in my stomach. I just feel it down in there, feel tense in there, sometimes in my chest, but for me, it's either shoulders or I think gut. That's kind of where I normally feel it. So think about, where are you feeling that? And then considering for yourself, what right now is contributing to your current level of stress? Is it part of that wheel of life? Going back to the wheel, which of those parts of the wheel do you feel like is really impacting your level of stress right now? Which one is weighing you down the most? And then thinking about, where are you currently turning to and seeking out a sense of peace and comfort? Where are you going to? Sometimes we have very healthy ways of doing that, but sometimes, and we know for ourselves what that is, if it is healthy or an unhealthy way of relieving tension in life. So think about that. What are some of those healthy stress relieving solutions, even for your body? And so deep breathing is a great one. Tell me if you end up doing any of that for yourself. If you do deep breathing right now, are you doing any kind of stretching, yoga, some type of exercise? I'm going to be giving you a link to a way to get a 5 senses walk that I put together. That's just a really nice, relaxing way of getting yourself back grounded, coming back to the present when, and this is something you can do, especially if you're working out of the home. And let me know if you're someone that is working in or outside of the home. Would love to know that. But this is something you could literally just walk around outside your office space, outside your home, and do that. It's really kind of a little bit nice, cooler weather in the last couple of days. So really great opportunity to put this 5 senses walk into action. And then thinking through, what are those healthy solutions? Massage is one. We talked about massage earlier. And so those are really great ways to just care for your physical body and think about that. Now, the last part here is making this makeover happen. So we can talk about all these things and we can check it off in our minds and know, oh, yep. I know that I need to do those things. But what is going to actually get it done? What's going to make that happen in your life to give yourself that space to relax? That space to actually take care of the physical body that you have. And so one of the things that really helps with that, and I like to say, what is scheduled and written down is more often accomplished and completed. So when I used to work in case management for many years, I would often suggest the person I was working with, and even now I'll do this. I'm like, well, what would prevent you from doing that right now? And so I want to encourage you right now, even to think about, look at your schedule, pull it up on your phone if you have the ability to do that, or just even thinking through what opportunity you will next have to be able to schedule that massage, or to take a short walk, or to do something that is positive for your body. Maybe it's this evening, you're going to pull up on YouTube a yoga video. I do Christian-based counseling. So there's also a thing called holy yoga that is Christian-based, that involves scripture and prayer and those kind of things. So a lot of different ways that you can do that. So I want you just to open up that calendar or write down on a piece of paper, even in this moment, grab a scrap piece of paper, a napkin, whatever you have, a receipt, and write on the back of it, when is the next opportunity that you will have anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to do something that is physically relaxing for your body, and just write it down, the day and the time that you're going to attempt to do this. Because I bet, if we are looking at our schedules, we would see that we plan to be here this evening. We set it aside, and that's why we showed up, because it was on our schedule, on our radar, right? So let's do that. And then come back and let us know. Let's stay accountable. Pick someone that you can tell about this. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, so the next thing is that I have an email list that I'm going to be starting soon. And so I'm going to give you a link to that as well. And so that is going to go into the chat, a way that you can get on to that email list where you can have access to some additional resources as I roll those out, like the 5 senses walk that I was telling you about. And a lot of people are chiming in about where they're holding stress in their shoulders, in their neck. Someone is using the Calm app. Thank you, Andrea. Using the Calm app to meditate. There's another one that I've recently become familiar with called Encounter, and it is a Christian-based one as well. So a lot of, and I love the Calm app too. There's just lots of great ways of just relaxing through meditation and having that be in a guided way. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide there.
So Carrie, so first off, I'm going to stop share because Tracy's got it where she can pull it up for a full screen so it looks good. And while she's doing that, I'm going to share some of you had some comments on Facebook.
Oh, wonderful.
So wanted to share Darlisa feels it in her shoulders and her stomach. Ananice in her shoulders. And then when you talked about what people do to make themselves feel better, whether it's meditate or something, Darlisa shared that she sometimes finds comfort in food. I'm sure a lot of us probably do. And she's also recently started to swim as a means to rest and relax. And then last was, could you do the link? Ananice asked if you could please use the link, not this last one that you gave, but the one before that.
Yes, yeah. And so do y'all have the ability to copy those and put them in the Facebook chat? If not, I can do that afterwards. Okay, great.
I've already added it there. Both links should be on the Facebook page.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing that.
Pops up, so I know I did it right.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, yeah, so let's move forward on the slide deck and we'll go into the one that says facial. So there's that 5 senses, and that one is in the link as well. So the facial, and I love this meme. It's one of my absolute favorite memes of all times, how to cover your dark eye circles with the glitter. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's make that the new trend. So, but let's talk about for a second here, sleep. As an entrepreneur, you are probably working more hours than you ever thought that you would work and putting in a lot of time. And probably some of you, if you have children, you're having to get this early in the morning or late at night, and your sleep has probably been disrupted in some way. Even if you aren't in a business right now that's requiring some of those late hours, you may just have kids waking up in the middle of the night. I know that happens a lot. So or for me, our cats are waking us up. So sometimes sleep is disrupted for one reason or another. So sleep to reduce dark circles and dark moods. We know that when our sleep suffers, so does our mood. And you can probably tell me how you tend to be impacted with sleep. Most people get more irritable. Sometimes you get a little bit more discouraged and start thinking more negatively. So this is our next stop. So let's talk a little bit about this, and let's put in the chat and let me know how many hours of sleep on average are you getting each night just right now? Just on average, about how many? Maybe just say, what did you get last night? But on average, how many hours are you getting? And let's talk about that. Your emotional wellness really needs a practical foundation of sleep. And this is something I talk about often in the counseling office, is when someone is coming in, and if you're even considering to do a counseling in some capacity, doing difficult emotional work requires that you, and it's going to go along better for you, because counseling can be difficult work, to do, and digging into things. And so having your body being rested, well-fed, cared for is really important in that process. And so I want to encourage you in that way. And so this is one of those simple things, that we can chide ourselves for not doing the simple, or we can start looking for an opportunity to grow. And that's what we're going to do. So let's talk a little bit about sleep hygiene. I'm going to share some links in the chat as well that I think you're going to find really interesting and helpful. So sleep hygiene is an actual thing, and it's really just your sleep habits. What's in your sleep space? Where are you sleeping? If you're like me, I'm one of those that I can fall asleep just about anywhere. And I'll be up late on my phone or something. And the next thing I know, I'm falling asleep on the couch and it's miserable there. It's not comfortable at all. I'd much rather fall asleep in my bed. But I'm kind of one that if I know myself and I get to a certain point in the night, I'm just one of those, I'll fall asleep anywhere I am. So thinking about that and putting yourself to bed if you have to. And so then also thinking about just when you're taking in caffeine, some of those things are important to note. Try not to have caffeine after 3 p.m., not having large meals late into the evening. Think about something light. All those kind of good sleepy time teas and things like that are really helpful as long as it's non-caffeinated. And then thinking about what you're doing in the evening prior to bed. Are you able to avoid alcohol before bed? That is recommended. Reducing fluids if you're not wanting to get up and down in the middle of the night if you can. And then I recently have been talking to people a lot about blue light blocker filters on your phones. Now, a lot of us have them and some people have them and they don't even know that they're there. I ran across people recently. They like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of that, but they're not using it. And that's one really simple thing that you can do for yourself. I don't know if you're like me, but I am on my phone constantly. I run my business in lots of different ways off of the phone and into the night. So having that blue light blocker filter is going to do a world of wonder because the blue light, not only am I hearing recently that it is aging us in our faces and our skin, that's a whole nother talk, but it is also disrupting your natural production of melatonin in your body and your circadian rhythms, with all that light coming in. So if you have a TV in your room, things like that, thinking about, can I turn that off about 30 minutes before bed and at minimum get that blue light blocker filter going on. Okay, and making sure your room is dark. And then I'm going to tell you this, sleep stories, if you've not heard of sleep stories, and some people have not, and so I really want to encourage you to Google sleep stories if you've never done that before. And you will find ones by actors. Matthew McConaughey has one out there, or maybe multiple ones. There's Christian sleep stories. There's one for kids, all kinds of different sleep stories. And it's a very just slow, if you're not familiar with them, like a slow kind of non-interesting story that just kind of by the cadence of the voice and the pauses and the way they slow down, it lulls you to sleep. So I rarely ever will make it through 10 minutes of one of those. So it can be really helpful to try something like that and see what you think. And then also the sleep diary. I'm going to put a link in the chat to a sleep diary that I found online that I thought was really helpful. And this is a 2-week sleep diary. Oh, someone's loving sleep stories. I'm so glad to hear that. Yay, Andrew is loving the sleep stories. Yeah. And so the sleep log that you can do for your sleep, keeping that diary for a couple of weeks, even if you can only do it for a few days, could be really helpful to give you some insight. Anything that you can see. I'm a real visual learner. I don't know about you. Let me know if you are too. I like to see things kind of out and on like a paper. I'm a real pen and paper kind of person, old school. So whether you like it on a spreadsheet or you like it in a journal or a page or something, getting to see that can really give you some insight to what's happening. You kind of know in your head what's happening, but it has a different impact seeing it laid out before you like that. So I want to encourage you to do that if you are struggling with your sleep and you haven't ever done a sleep diary before. And it gives you the opportunity to even write in, when are you maybe having some caffeine and what time are you trying to go to sleep and when are you waking up and how long are you up in the night? Kind of breaks it down into little blocks that you can shade in. So consider doing that for yourself. And then take a little assessment and look at that and think, what does that bring up for you when you see that laid out like that? Are there some very subtle shifts that you might be able to make that would help your sleep? I've had people recently even tell me, oh, I just took some melatonin and it really helped a lot. So consult your doctor, about some of those things if you need to regarding supplements for sleep, but that can be helpful. And we all need a little extra sleep as entrepreneurs. Okay, next slide. We're talking about haircuts. Okay, so I really want to know, I'm sure you all have some super hilarious haircut stories. And if you want to type them out for us, we will absolutely read them back. But let us know if you've ever had a funny haircut story. I can remember getting a perm in junior high because I let my mom to convince me that I needed layers in my hair. And then if I had these layers, if I just got the perm, I would be curly all over. I just remember saying that to myself, yes, curly all over. And I wake up in the morning and it is just like a big frizz bomb because I had really thick hair back then. And I kind of regretted that. So have you ever regretted a haircut or a hairstyle? Let us know. If you're feeling a little bit adventurous, go into your, if you're on the Zoom here with us, you can go in and change the name using those little three dots in the upper right-hand corner of your picture, and change your name for just a moment to what was the most like funny hairstyle that you ever had. Was it a side ponytail? What was it? Did you have the mullet? What did you have going on? Let us know down there. Okay. So thinking about this, and this meme I love too, when you cut your hair, but then you regret it. This one, she cut it off, but she wants to like still like attach it and keep hanging on to it. So we got to think about, in this mental health makeover, there's going to be some things that you need to cut off. And this is in your downloadable PDF if you pull that up as well on the side. Something that needs to go this year. And you've got still months left in the year to think about that. So don't let it be like my hair that I've cut off a couple of years back when I had like a bunch, like 10 or 12 inches of it, and I still haven't mailed it off. It's floating around somewhere and my cats keep finding it and digging into it. So, but actually we need to cut something off and get rid of it and do something to it. So let's think about that. What are some of the things that might need to be cut off and let go of? So here's some just basic categories. Relationships. Might be a toxic relationship, and that might be difficult to do, and you may need some extra help with that. Maybe counseling, maybe a good friend to talk that through, or a mentor. Could be substances. It could be that you need to see yourself stop smoking or reduce the alcohol consumption in your life. It might be other substances, it might be a food type thing that you are just taking in too much of, and you're feeling not great, physically because of it. So really just thinking about what's one thing you might want to cut off. Maybe it's a way of thinking and believing that you've gotten into a habit, that all or nothing thinking we were talking about at the beginning. Another one is catastrophizing, thinking the worst that's going to happen, and really speaking negatively internally to ourselves. How often do we do that? And so really just thinking about what's one thing. We're talking about a lot of different areas to give you options, but don't feel overwhelmed by this. Think and just pick one that you might be willing to do. Maybe you're more along the lines of labeling yourself, saying things like, I can't do this, I'm a loser, I'm dumb, these kind of things that what that is in your mind, and how it ruminates on those kind of things when you're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. And so being able to capture those things and set them aside and remind yourself of what is true. Sometimes we blame ourselves, taking responsibility for things that are not our fault, taking responsibility for other people's emotions, other people's actions, and it's really not ours to own. And so that can become burdensome, and that may be something to let go of. We may need help with that process. Counseling is great for that, mentorship, just talking with a good friend and getting accountable for that. Life coaching can be great for that as well. And so thinking about those things, sabotaging behaviors, oh my goodness, we can go to town on this one. Disorganization, procrastination. We're all my procrastinators out there, which is really rooted in perfectionism. They're kind of twin sisters, I think. Poor time management and staying up late, maybe staying up late, getting up too late, those kind of things. That just picking one thing that you might want to pay attention to. Okay, this is my favorite, the one-to-one-to-one method. I love having something just to kind of grab onto and remind myself of. So the hard truth is that change is not easy, and we all know that. And we know something that needs to be cut off and let go of, but how do we do that? What is the first step? We just got to be aware of what it is to begin with, and then writing it down. So in your PDF document that you have that has that fillable form, you can write down what's that one thing you need to let go of. And we'll talk here in a second about things you might want to add in. But what's one thing you need to let go of this year? One action step that you can take even tonight or tomorrow to begin that process. And then one person that you can tell about it. That's really important, being accountable. Maybe you post it on Facebook. Maybe you put it in your Facebook stories or Instagram, or just tell a couple of friends about it. That really makes a huge difference when you declare it out. This is what you're going to do to get some accountability for that. Donna Lisa, I want to check back in with you to see if we have any comments or things that we want to check in with before I move on to the next one.
So I know we had some people asking about the presentation link, so I've thrown that back in the chat a couple different times. And then Ananice on Facebook said negative self-talk, which I think we probably all battle that one a lot.
Yes. Yeah, that is a huge one. And so I'm so glad that you're acknowledging that. Sometimes just acknowledging what we're doing and paying attention, being aware that those are the kind of things that you're struggling with, gives you the opportunity to capture it and to do something about it. So thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and share that with us. Okay, let's go on now to the adding in. So if we're taking something out, it's really important that we add something into that space. If we don't add anything in, it's going to be really easy just to fall back into those old patterns. So our next stop is makeup. Anyone ever feel like this meme? Getting halfway through the contouring tutorial and then the Wi-Fi goes out. I love it. So funny. So where are my makeup wearers? Let me know if you could only have one makeup item. Share this with me in the chat. If you could only have one makeup item, what would it be? That's a hard one for me because I've always been a big makeup lover and I love all the things. I would probably have to say, maybe as much as I love my lip stuff, I would probably have to say eyeliner, because I feel like I have lighter hair, and so that translates into lighter lashes and lighter everything, in terms of the face. So I think I would say eyeliner is what mine would be. Next stop would probably be gloss after that. So let me know what yours would be. If you would pick one makeup item that you could have, what would it be? We've just finished cutting off things, and so now we're going to start putting things back on. Let's talk about foundation, okay, and using our metaphor. This is how you view yourself. You talk to yourself more than anyone else, and so you are informing yourself of a lot of things. And oftentimes we talk to ourselves in a way that we would never dream of speaking to somebody else. And so think about that. What is that inner dialogue? What does that even sound like? Be honest with yourself about that. Maybe even write it out, and we're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. If you're having that cringe moment, I don't want to do that. That is the moment you need to do it, and to put that out and be honest with yourself about what's there. And then seek some help for that if you're noticing that that's a pattern that you're struggling with and having trouble to jump over that. And the next thing here is the eyes. What can we do for the eyes? Looking for gifts of gratitude. And I'm going to put in the chat here a gratitude journal link that I found online that I thought was really helpful. And so that will be shared there. Okay, I'm seeing lipstick, mascara, eyeshadow. Yes, I'm seeing it from everybody. Foundation. Yes, a lot of people are liking that. Yes, absolutely. So gratitude, it's really difficult for us to both be grateful about something at the same time as we're complaining and being negative about it. And one of the things that I really love is taking A to Z and just thinking about from A to Z something that you're grateful for each letter of the alphabet. As a Christian counselor, I also talk with people about characteristics of God that they can think through A to Z, that turn their minds and their hearts back into their faith. And that can be a really big strength for people. So allowing yourself to incorporating that into life in any place that you can is really going to be helpful. And then thinking about ways that you can receive grace. We all need to give it and we need to receive it, over ourselves. I've even encouraged clients before, take a gift box even and just call it grace and put those things in it that you are noticing that are just grace and gratitude type things that you're noticing each day, and see how many gifts that you have, gifts of grace or gratitude that you have by the end of the month or the end of the year. I've heard people doing that all year long and then opening it up on New Year's Eve. Just some really practical, fun things that you can do, or Christmas morning even. What a great opportunity to do something like that. And the lips part, this is the giving of grace. So I want to encourage you in this moment to get into that chat box and don't really worry about picking anyone that but just go through there. And if you're on Facebook, then you can do this off to the side or on Messenger. You can tag someone in this video and give them a shout out and something that you just want to encourage them with as a practical application of this. But get into that chat box and just randomly pick a name and send them a private message. Even right now, while we are here in this chat together, send them a private message with an encouraging word. Maybe just say, you got this, or I have all the hope for you today. Don't give up. You can do this. Think of an encouraging quote or encouraging statement and just randomly send it to somebody in the chat. Think about that. That really helps getting outside of ourselves. And then also contouring with some social connections. So think about the places that you are connecting with other people. We've been in the digital age for a lot over the past year or so, and people are getting back together in groups and various capacities. So if you're not already connected with a church group, a hobby group, a meetup group, think about maybe that's your one thing that you're going to put on between now and the end of the year. Maybe that's something you've been neglecting. And this video and this message is just for you to remind you that this is the time. This is the time to reconnect. Maybe you're needing to make some connections in the entrepreneurial space to be encouraged in what you're doing with business. And so I hope you come to some of the other things that TW puts out and letting you network and connect. Maybe you're going to come 15 minutes before to that next early Tuesday morning, or stay 15 or 20 minutes late after that next one that TW, the Center for Women Entrepreneur, does, to let you connect with other people. Don't skip out on it the next time. Let that be the thing that you do if you're lacking in connection and you're needing that. Okay, we're coming down here towards the end. So here's our mani and pedi. This is the next one. The next slide is about mani and pedi. AKA, I'm calling this journaling because it has to do with the hands. So our last stop is to drop by the salon, and we're going to get a quick mani and pedi here. So let me know if you're one to like to get your nails done. And if you are more of a nail polish person, if you're a manicure person, I am more of one of those impress nail gals. I love those impress nails. They're so fun and quick and cheap. I love it. And I always get compliments on them. So if you've never done impress nails, that's a little side tip. But I figure since we're talking about the manicure and hands, let's talk about the journaling piece. I usually hear from people, there is a love-hate relationship with journaling. So let me know if you're loving or you're hating journaling. I don't mind to hear that from you. But some people really are struggling with that. And some of it may just be because you weren't sure where to start. Some people have had their journals read, and that feels like, woo, don't want to do that, and so you may have an aversion for some reason to that. So let's think about not just the aversion you might have if that is you, but how might you overcome that? What might be a good possible solution for you so that you can still take part in something that could be really beneficial for your health? And there's actual health benefits to journaling. I did some research on this. So the University of Texas at Austin, there's a psychologist and a researcher, James Pennebaker, who has put out some research that talked about how journaling strengthens immune cells. It can decrease symptoms of asthma and rheumatoid arthritis. And when journaling before bed, it actually has been researched to show to help you to fall asleep better, getting just a brain dump, getting all that stuff out a little bit. It can also help decrease stress, which improves your physical health. And it has been noted people who do more journaling have fewer doctor's appointments in the 6 months following episodes of journaling. So isn't that amazing? I thought that was so cool. It also improves your creativity because while your left brain is busy writing, your right brain is free to create and to feel. And so it's really interesting being able to access all the different parts of our brains in the process of journaling. The APA's Journal of Experimental Psychology talked about how journaling does help your mental health. Expressive writing really can help decrease intrusive and avoidant thoughts about negative events. Really also improves your working memory. So if you're struggling with memory, journaling could be the thing for you, and really frees up some cognitive resources for other mental activities like handling more stress. So if you're struggling with stress at the beginning of this, journaling could be your thing. Okay, so what about frequency and duration? How do I need to go about doing this? So research shows that writing about a stressful event about 20 minutes or 2 sessions for 10 minutes each can really yield a lot of positive effects, both on your physical and mental health, as well as all those good cognitive things we want, like that working memory. And try to do it about 4 days in a row, if you can. And then just a couple of things you can do to get started with that. So one of the ways that you could get started is doing what I like to call a why dig, W-H-Y, a why dig. So like write down a word or phrase, something that's been bothering you. For example, you could write down the word stress and then do kind of a word association. What word or topic does that bring to mind? And then whatever comes up, what does that bring to mind? What bothers me so much about that? And then whatever you come up with for that answer, what bothers me about that? And ask yourself, what bothers me about that so much? And why does that bother me so much? About 5 times. It really helps you dig down to get to some of the lower layers of what's really going on. Some people like to use prayer journals. Other people like to just do that brain dump, all the to-do list items that they have, but then stop and think, once I've done that, how do I feel about that? Let your feelings come into that. Sometimes people like to do artistic journals and just drawing them out, drawing how you're feeling. That can be a way of journaling. taking a song or a verse, writing that out and writing out how you feel about that, interact with that and just the written, with the written word. Okay, so then we're going to go on. So now this is our last stop. This is our full makeover. We've had our body massage, our facial, our haircut. We've been putting on and taking off things and journaling with our mani-pedi. So think about, have you ever gotten new clothes while still keeping the old ones? You know, I want to say this, let's Marie Kondo our emotional closets. Okay. So I love this little meme that says too much color in our wardrobe. I need to replace the hangers. So sometimes we struggle with change, but this is an opportunity. Change is not easy, but I hope that you'll consider that one-to-one method, picking one thing you can do, one action step that you can take, one thing that you want to remember and implement, and then one person that you can tell about it. You are going to see a world of difference by doing it in that way. The next slide just reminds you about joining the email list. If you would like to get more resources, you can also find a lot of things on my website. The final slide is my contact information, my phone number and email, and my website, breedlovecounseling.com. You can find a lot there. And I'm regularly adding things both to my blog, which is a video blog, as well as a written blog as well. So thank you so much for listening. If there's any questions or comments back that we want to chat about, I'm happy to do that now.
All right, we will wait for Tracy to quit. There we go. So do we have any questions? Feel free to post them in the chat, or you can pop on and ask them. I'm going to ask a question while we wait to see if somebody else does. So Carrie, can you talk to us? I know for myself as an entrepreneur, I can really allow social media to pretty much wreak some havoc on me mentally. So what are some tips or tricks you have about social media and mental health?
Yeah, that is a great one. So there's a variety of different ways that you can address this. Some people, if it's just too much and you don't want to take some of these steps that I will tell you that you can do to improve your social media, just deleting the app. Delete the app for a while, take a break from it, you know, let yourself disconnect from it. But I will tell you, if you're not liking what you're seeing on social media, and this is a hard, tough pill to swallow, but it is a learning machine, and Facebook and Instagram are showing you what you have engaged on. So maybe you haven't typed on that dumpster's fire, but you sure did go through those comments and read every single one of them. And Facebook understood that. And it was like, oh, she's interested in this dumpster fire over here, so we're going to show her more of that. So you do have to be mindful. It's picking up on what you like because it wants you to stay there. So if you're staying on things, if you're commenting on things, you're getting into arguments with people, then it's going to keep showing you those things. I will tell you though, one really easy way to make your Facebook newsfeed look so much better is to find a couple of groups that you really like the content of that group, engage in that group, comment on things in that group, post in that group, and you will start seeing a lot of group stuff show up more in your newsfeed than other things. And so really be mindful of how you're engaging on social media because it's going to give back to you what you give to it.
Nancy in the chat asked if there was any suggestions for removing distractions.
Oh, so good. So we have to think a little bit about, and Nancy, you might want to chime in even to say, what are some of the distractions that you're noticing? Because it might be different for each type of distraction, depending on what that is. I know I'm kind of one of those people that if I've got my email up or I decide to check it in the middle of doing something else, I'm like, shiny object, squirrel, you know, and I'm off to the next thing. And so I really have to discipline myself. I don't do this perfectly, but it is something that helps if I know that email is my distraction point or social media is my distraction point. And I may just have to like keep that phone down and not go to it for a set amount of time. Which is really helpful. Okay, so Nancy's saying it's the piles of paper on her desk. She may have answered her own question. Yeah, so there you go. If it's the piles of paper on your desk, can you put all those piles in a box, you know, for a time, you know, so that it's just you're clearing it off and you're not having to look at it. You know, they're still there and you can open it back up and get to it. And then putting it on your schedule, a set aside time that you're going to deal with the paper pile, instead of just having it out there and looking at it. I understand, because I like to see things. If it's gone, it may just disappear forever in my mind. But maybe it's all nice and neat, like in a box on your desk instead of just right out. She's saying,
Burn
burn
them.
them? Can we burn those papers? Well, maybe you can. As you deal with one, then put it in the shred, put it in the burn pile. I love that. Yeah. So thinking about what is that distraction point for you, and what are some creative alternatives, and trying it out. If you're not sure what to do about it, then get on social media and ask for some help. What should I do about that? What does everybody think? Because people want to give you their opinions for sure.
I've actually started doing a little bit of time blocking, which seems to help with the distraction. So it's, scheduling that time to give yourself, and then scheduling time to check emails, and so it's not turning off those notifications. We do have another question, but I wanted to share a comment that we had from Facebook from Ananice. She said, lots of great information, Carrie, definitely sharing your info with my colleagues. So that's good.
Thank you so much.
So I know we all probably would raise our hand. So, any tips for negative self-talk?
Yeah. We have to identify what it is first. And then, thinking about what is the content of that self-talk, and where are you noticing that it's popping up the most frequent? Because if you can catch, like, okay, it tends to be like late at night when I'm getting really tired and I'm still trying to get stuff done, that really gives you some insight into what's the bigger context of what's going on around that. And I also encourage you to ask yourself, whose voice is that? Is it, it might be your voice in your head kind of, but is it just your voice, or is this something that you have heard from somewhere else? Is it someone in your life that started with? Float your mind back to, when did you first remember beginning to think that way about yourself? Where did that begin for you? Was it something that was said to you, in younger years? Sometimes it is for people, and realizing just where it's coming from, and to think, wait a minute, that's not mine to own. Sometimes it's things that have just been carried over for years. And then thinking about, what would you rather believe about yourself? And ask yourself, what's holding you back from believing that thing? What is the thing for you? And if you're struggling to really tease that out, consider getting with a close, trusted friend, a mentor, a counselor, to dig into some of those things a little bit deeper, because they can be attached to certain things. It could be attached to past trauma. It could be attached to a variety of different life experience, and just a habit of doing that for yourself. And so if we're going to do something new, we're going to take a new trail, it is going to take time, and to be patient with yourself in that process of trading those things out. But the more that you're aware, the more you're able to, like, whoop, there it is. I need to stop that and remind myself of what is true about who I am as a person, so you can start rooting those things out. Great question.
So another one, Carrie. So, we've had COVID, we've been locked down, and now we're all kind of, we're coming out of that. So those of us that are self-professed introverts are now being, we're being, in essence, everybody's kind of being shoved back into the world. So how do we handle our mental health in that? Because being secluded for, a long time has been, and then now we're out in public. So how do we handle that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and a really good observation. I'm one that is an introverted extrovert, and so I love this online space. I feel really comfortable here in this behind the screen kind of place, even doing this kind of talking. But having to transition over into an in-person networking event, I noticed even within myself, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I say, start by just acknowledging that this is hard. Let's not try to minimize the hard. Let's just acknowledge this is difficult. That is a good place to begin. And then I really encourage you, if you're noticing the anxious feelings surrounding that, a lot of times it is coming up in our bodies as well. So check in with your body head to toe. What are you noticing inside? Are you noticing that tension in your chest? Before you walk into an event, give yourself 5 or 10 minutes to sit in the car and to do some deep breathing, prayer, a meditation, something that's really going to slow your body down. Because if you just walk right in with the heart racing and everything, you're already setting yourself up for feeling super anxious as it is, So allow it, your body, your body is so important. We've been given bodies, we're living inside of them. So take care of that. Let your body do some breathing and relaxing, reminding yourself again, what is true about the situation that you're about to walk into, and then letting yourself do some deep breathing afterwards and giving yourself permission to take some extra time to rest. Because if you're not someone that really likes and gets energy off of those in-person activities, it can be kind of draining, and be like, that's okay. That's what I know about myself. And so establish those parameters and margins, for yourself to recover.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions out there before we turn it back over to Tracy?
I want to encourage the people that I'm seeing in the chat here on Zoom. I'm so excited to see you guys connecting and encouraging each other. People are saying they've decided to focus on happiness and small business. And one person was talking about establishing healthy and productive habits. And then some people are connecting and going to send some friend requests to each other to connect offline. So great job at connecting with each other. That's so important and so key.
Awesome. Well, we don't have any more questions. We do have a Zoom poll, so I'm not sure, Tracy, if you want to do it real quick before you come back on, or we want to wait a second. You're muted.
If you want to go ahead and put that up right now, that's fine.
Okay.
Carrie, that's such great information. Actually, I feel a little calmer after being on this presentation. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you guys were here, and thank you so much for participating both on Facebook and also on the Zoom. It was so great to have you. I hope that we will all connect with each other through the social media channels and offline as well. It's such a great opportunity.
We'll leave the poll up just for a few more seconds.
And thank you too, Carrie, for just reminding us to take care of ourselves, and that we can do it in real simple ways, that it won't even, some of those ideas are very fast and can help us when we need it. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Someone is asking about a link for the Austin source. I'm not quite sure what they're referring to there.
The article that you referenced, I think it might have been about the journaling. It was the University of Austin.
Oh, the University of Austin. Okay, yes. Let me see if I can find that, and I can put that in the chat.
Okay, well, that'll be great while you look for that. We want everyone to know that tomorrow our grant program is opening, accepting applications. We are giving away 25 $5,000 grants to women-owned businesses in Texas. So that will be will be live tomorrow. And what else, Donna Lisa, do we have tomorrow?
We also have we'll be live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I believe YouTube, hopefully. Tracy's going to be on. We're going to do a Q&A for our Start Her grant. So if you have any questions about, things to include, documentation, any kind of questions, this is a place to get your answer answered live in the moment.
So we're really excited about that. We do have the guidelines, FAQs, everything is online, but if there's more clarification you need, we're going to be there tomorrow. So we're very excited about that and hope many of you will apply for the grant. So there it is. Good, you found it, Carrie. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I think the last thing we have is our Women Rise in October. The second Tuesday of the month, it's experiential marketing. And I'm going to be sharing some content about that on our social media to share a little bit about what that is. And I think that's all we've got for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you once again, Carrie. Great information. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Nancy, we see your question there. Our events are going to be virtual until we're hoping in person in 2020, but we're so that's what we know at this point.
So the Wink event is in person, isn't it? Does everybody know about Wink through the chamber?
Women in Commerce in Denton.
Yes. You can check them out on Facebook. Let me see if I can grab the link. Carrie may be faster than me.
She's got it down. She is quick at that stuff. Are any of the things you're doing live, Carrie?
I am doing, actually have a